Hey, music lovers, Sara J here. Looking for an inclusive space where you can connect with fellow fans, deep dive into your favorite music, and be a part of something special? Well, look no further. Join us on Patreon, where music and community come together. Get exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and a place to geek out over the artists you love, plus explore music you haven't heard yet. Come hang out with us. Patreon.com/DATC Media Company. That's patreon.com/DATC Media Company. See you there. A member of the DATC Media family. I'm really, really excited that we get to hang out twice in 1 week, first of all. Like, that's just so much fun. And I'm excited too because I'm releasing the reins to you for this episode. I'm coming in completely unprepared. I have no notes. I have nothing. If you know me, that's a big deal. I have no notes, guys. And that's because I'm excited about the idea that you brought to the table, Craig, when we were talking about what we were going to do when we finally sat down and chatted. So tell everybody what your idea is and what we're going to do today.
Okay, thanks. So when I guess the way we kind of met was through discovering Downie and the Tragically Hip, you know, Facebook group and the Top 40 Countdown and all those things. And when I was co-host on Discovering Downie, I was the Canadian panelist. So Kirk's from California, Justin's from Vermont, and a lot of discussion right from episode 1 was about Canadian music. And so I started off by talking a little bit about the CanCon laws. Got my shirt. And the Canadian content laws that have been around for decades, where basically, this is a quick summary, basically 30% of all radio TV content on Canadian stations needs to be considered Canadian. And you can look that up. It's actually really interesting when you kind of look into what classifies a song as being Canadian. And things have changed a little bit over the years, but roughly, if to give a really quick example, if the person who wrote the words and the music is Canadian, it's considered Canadian. Or if the producer is Canadian and the artist is Canadian, it's considered Canadian. So roughly 50% of the work needs to be Canadian to be considered Canadian. That's my understanding anyways. It's a little more nuanced than that. So the reason for this was just to promote Canadian music, because we talked, last time we talked, I talked about my band and our experience going across Canada and trying to, make a living in this industry is extremely difficult because of the geography. We're so spread out. There are so few places to play, especially out west. I mentioned driving from Vancouver all the way to Edmonton with no shows in between. That's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And so the CanCon laws really gave artists just a bit of an extra push, and people groaned about it a little bit, especially back in the 80s, that maybe saying that the quality on the Canadian radio wasn't as strong. But when you kind of look at where we are now, it did exactly what it needed to. Like, now I would argue that there's still 30, maybe more, maybe 40% of the music you hear up here is from Canadian artists, but it doesn't feel like it's, oh, here's another, the music industry up here, like the bands up here are incredible. Over the last, number of years, it's just, there's so many great groups up here, and they really did, I don't think there would be as many, great bands if it weren't for those laws that kind of helped propel things earlier on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that went on way too long.
No, no, no. I love it. I'm
I
like listening to this and like making a mental note that, when I go back and listen and edit and everything, I'm going to like dig deeper into all of that because it's very interesting to me.
yeah, like I could go on about it. I was just trying to say it in as short a way as I could. Um, but um, so, anyways, I made a playlist for Discovering Downie of Canadian music, and it was, I think, 7 hours long. And this was just sort of off the top of my head. I just went through, thinking of songs I've heard on the radio over the years, songs from bands I love, songs from bands I don't really like, but I have maybe that one song that I really admire.
Yeah.
Some bands that are known worldwide, and some that are maybe a band I saw in a club, you know, one time, and they you know became something that I remembered.
Yeah.
So and then I know I shared that list with you, and that's kind of where this idea came from. So what I want to do today is I'm going to talk about seven Canadian bands that I think you should all know.
I love
And I tried, and I picked a list. This is not a, these are the top seven Canadian bands. This is not even my favorites. Some of these bands I love, some I actually don't know that much about, but I tried to choose a little bit of a variety. So there's something for no matter what your tastes are. So
Oh
there
yeah.
may even be a couple that are known sort of outside of Canada, to some degree. But I tried to pick groups that I think deserve more of an audience.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so that's where this idea came from. So the way I've structured this is I don't have notes either, but what I did is I made a playlist of 21 songs. So
Okay.
seven artists, three songs each. And the songs I chose for very specific reasons in some cases. Some cases it's because I have a story about the song, or I think it's like an era of that band's music that isn't known enough or appreciated enough. And in other cases, it's just these are the hit songs, and maybe a band that people need to hear.
All right. Hell
Yeah,
yeah. This is going to be fun. I'm excited. And I'm excited about it because I'm going to go on a social media tagging frenzy with all the bands that you talk about and everything. So who knows the ripple effect of what's going to happen here today. I'm so excited. And I'm excited for the listeners to experience this because I've had many of my guests because my guests are all over. And like recently, when I had Dan Wallace on my show for 2 episodes, he's based down in Baltimore area. And, like he even had mentioned to me, he's like, well, I had never heard of the Tragically Hip before I started following you and, listening to your content and following your social media things and everything. And like he's down in Baltimore. And so this is so much fun to, spread the music around so that other people can experience these bands and artists that they aren't going to get otherwise because of geography or whatever. I love it. I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for bringing this idea. You're like, well, if you think this would be okay, I'm like, absolutely. And that playlist too, I will link it in the show notes. And if you follow my Instagram stories, I've thrown it in there a couple times. I've thrown in some songs in there because I've just been spending like 1 hour chunks with it. I think maybe I mentioned this in the one of the first part episode thingies that you and I already did. That I'll listen to it for like an hour at a time. And Spotify has been really good about not doing repeats, but it's been so cool because I've followed all these bands now that I just had no idea about from all over Canada already. And so it's so cool to have all this new stuff in my feed and everything. So, yay.
great. Yeah, and partly this was inspired by Gord himself. He was always, side stage watching the bands. They would handpick so many Canadian artists to open for them, and they were huge supporters of Canadian music. And so, I just think there's so much great stuff out there that I wish more people knew.
Hmm.
Although, if Half Moon Run became, a huge overnight success, that would kind of ruin it a little bit for me
Kind of ruin
personally,
it. They were
but I'd be happy
definitely a
for them.
band that I started following now. I really like them a whole bunch. Um,
Yeah.
and I was going to say too, like, you can't really, like, especially with a project like Discovering Downey, like, you can't gloss over Canadian music, because not even just the fact that he watched so many artists and, was so involved in all of the things, but even just in the songs, when you're talking about songs and you're talking about these different things and references and artists that were on the albums and things like that, like, you have to expand it further and talk about it, because it's all part of that grander deep dive into his catalog as well.
So band number one, and again, this is in no order. Um, these are just bands that I think your audience would appreciate. Out of these seven, I guarantee there's at least one that every person will identify with,
Totally.
depending on what your tastes are. But I encourage you to listen to all of them. Listen to this playlist and give it a chance. Um, so the first band is a band from out east. I want to say Halifax. I didn't really research necessarily. I know a lot about some of these groups and less about others. I believe they're from Halifax. They're definitely out from the Maritime area, and they're called Hey Rosetta. And this is a band that unfortunately stopped playing a few years ago. I think maybe 2 years ago was their last show. They played a final show in Toronto. And this was a band that was around for quite a while. They're like an alternative rock band. Um, but what makes them special is they're, I'm not sure. I think there's 7 or 8 people in the band. They've got violin and they've got a couple guitar players and keyboards, and a lot of them sing backup vocals, and they are just they're such like natural musicians, and that's what really drew me to them. They're actually a band that I'd hear on the radio and I didn't really appreciate as much as I do now. Like I would hear them and okay, yeah, decent. Like, and what happened was I was down in Seattle with some friends and my wife, and we were just away for the weekend. We're a two hour drive away from Seattle, and we were just kind of walking around downtown looking for something to do. And at a small club called the Showbox, there was a marquee and it said, "Hey Rosetta." And we all recognized the name right away. We're like, "Hey, those guys are Canadian. Let's go." And so we actually just walked in off the street and went to the show. I think it was the Showbox. Um, yeah, no, it was the Crocodile. It was the Crocodile. That's what it was. So it was the Crocodile Room, and I'd seen a couple concerts there, prior. And so I knew it was a great room. And we went in and were completely blown away by this band's live performance.
I bet.
And they were touring an album called Seeds, which is probably their most well-known album. And I think it's their second. And what I really loved about them was, like I said, like they were just like natural musicians. You could tell they just played for fun, because on the East Coast, music is so sort of ingrained in the culture out east in the Maritimes, and something I'm really sort of envious of. I wish we had more of that, across the country. But out east, like it's from what I hear, everyone plays music or sings, and it's not so. I know out here it's hard, for example, in schools to get kids to sing, and a lot of when they hit a certain age, they're embarrassed by it, or they and th- I kind of blame American Idol and shows like that, where they would kind of like make fun of or criticize people for their singing, people getting up and singing. And I
Yeah.
think shows like that kind of do a disservice to just the joy of music overall. Like I think, and I felt the same way growing up. Like I felt self-conscious about singing, and never it was never really ingrained in our culture out here in BC. So I from what I hear, anyways, it is very different out east, and it's just a part of what families do. You know, families get together and they sing, and someone brings out a guitar and they sing traditional songs, or so that to me, I feel like Hey Rosetta comes out of that tradition.
Makes sense.
And again, that's just my speculation.
Makes
I've
sense
never
with
met them
having a
or met.
band that big too. It's very family like too, with having that many members and varieties of everything. It has that family vibe, that tribe vibe of it with having that many people involved.
Yeah. So I want to really quickly talk about the three songs I chose. So the first song is called Welcome, and this is a song for anyone really, but especially if you've ever been a parent, because this song is it's like almost like a love letter to like a newborn child. And it is like, it actually took me, I don't know, a few listens before I really realized what it was about. But when you start listening to the lyrics, I won't get into them too much. I'll probably start crying or something if I do. Don't mind if I do,
Okay,
but
it's a safe space. You could cry here, you know that.
but it's just so it kind of takes a dark turn halfway through in a way. In a way, it sort of, everything's like almost like happy and positive, and then it's kind of like it hits a you'll hear it musically. It hits this point where it kind of breaks down, and he starts talking about sort of maybe some of the negative things, like how you know it'll never it'll never be as good again as as he doesn't say it in this way, but it'll never be as good again as in the womb, basically.
Yeah.
And how one of the lines, I think, everything that you try to be is pulled apart by fear and greed. And then it kind of crescendos back into this big moment where it gets positive again. And I'm not going to talk about it too much. Just listen to it. It's just such an amazing song. And it just has this big frenzy at the end. The drums are going crazy, and it's just such a uplifting song in a way, but also
Yeah.
has that realism in it. That there are so many challenges with being being a
Being a
human.
human.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm excited to listen to that. That's beautiful.
yeah. The second one that you'll hear is called Young Glass, and lyrically, I'm not entirely sure why I picked this, or what this song's about, but um, I picked this one for musical reasons. So it's super interesting. It has this chorus that's kind of gentle to start, but it's got this bass line that's just going all over the place, arpeggiated bass line that is, it just reminds me of seeing them live. And the bass player was so natural. He's one of these guys who just seems like he was probably born playing the bass, because
Yeah. Yep.
it was so effortless the way he played. And sorry, I don't know his name. But this song, again, it does some of the same things as the other song. It kind of like breaks down and builds back up to a big crescendo. And it's got like, some, it's got horns at one point and strings, and it's just really bombastic, but in a controlled way. It almost reminds me of something like Arcade Fire would do, but with a little more restraint
Okay.
in when it gets big. It's a little more controlled. And anyways, it's a really great song. It's probably my favorite song that they play. Both of those songs are off the Seeds album, the one I mentioned. And then the third song is called Kintsukuroi, and it was, I believe, the first single off the next album that came out after that, which was called, I want to say Gold Teeth, I think was the name of the album. I could be, or Gold. I don't got it here. Sorry, I should know this.
Nope, you're good.
I've
I
got
get
this.
it.
I've got the CD right here somewhere. No, I don't. Anyway, it's the next album, and this is such a great song because of the lyrical content. Like, if you don't know, Kintsukuroi is like the art of repairing. Like, let's say you have a vase and you repair it. In Japanese culture, rather than throwing out, they would repair it with um, some kind of adhesive with maybe some gold on the outside to make it look nice. And I guess the theory behind it was you can take something that's broken and kind of make it more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And this song uses that as a metaphor for like a relationship, and
Yeah.
he's talking a lot about a girlfriend or something, and kind of a breakup, and but talking about I think a little bit about her insecurity. And it has just amazing lyrics, like it's talking about uh pixels, in they come, in they go, like talking about like that influence of social media, or those Instagram models. And um although this was probably written before that was a big thing, but just that influence of what culture perceives beauty to be, I guess,
Yep.
and having a negative impact on girls especially. And um being a father of a daughter, that you know I really like that message. And he goes on to say things like, like, I want your flaws, like, you know I
Yeah.
yeah, I want the real thing.
Yeah.
Is
I'm excited to dive more into them because actually one of their songs that was on the first playlist is actually a song that made its way over to like my liked songs that I listen to regularly. So
okay.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I like their sound and their vibe. So I'm glad that you brought them up.
yeah. And one other thing about this song, and this is a song that on first listen, Kintsukuroi is not an easy one to listen to. It's a little, it doesn't grab you right away necessarily. It really was the lyrics at first. And the other thing that struck me about this one is at the very same time, Death Cab for Cutie put out their Kintsugi album. And I just noticed the similarity in the titles, and that's what made me kind of look into what is, Kintsukuroi, what does
Yeah.
it mean? And I ended up teaching actually a whole lesson on this. I was at the time teaching, grade sevens, and I did a whole kind of art slash music, you know, lyric analysis lesson around this idea. And then, and one of the coolest things to happen with putting that all together, what I would start the lesson with would be a music video. I'd show like, hey, Rosetta playing this song like in a club, to get the sense of a lot. Like, I think seeing someone playing music live is a lot different than just hearing it. So I found this really great high quality video of them playing it, a black and white video, and beautifully shot. And you get a real sense of what they're like as a live band. But then I found the official music video, and I put it on, and I just kind of turned it off after like 15 seconds. I'm like, no, I'll just find a live video. So this is beforehand. I was looking for a video to play. And the reason I didn't pick it was because they were all like dressed perfectly, and everything was like,
Mm-hmm.
it was just
Polished.
boring. It was like a
Yeah.
boring, like
Yeah.
typical music video.
Yep.
But then for whatever reason, I went back and watched it again, and I'm not sure why, but I went back to the music video, and I was so wrong about this music video, because the music video actually adds another layer to the whole idea of Kintsukuroi. So in the music video, everything, like I said, is perfect. They're all dressed in white, and the white background, and everything's perfect, and they're shooting the music video. And then like the wind machines turn on, their hair's blowing back. But then, like, I forget what happens, like a paper plate or something, from from craft services hits a guy in the head or something, or whatever. Things start kind of falling apart a little bit on the set. And so they do a new take, and this is all happening as the song's going as part of the video. And things just start getting completely crazy and destroyed. Then a storm comes up and starts, like, water starts hitting them, and they're playing in these crazy conditions. And then the camera pans out, and you can see they're actually on a set on a cliff, out east in the Maritimes, and so you get to see the kind of behind the scenes thing, and then things just start blowing away, and then after I finished the video, I realized that that's the whole idea of the lyrics too, is that like perfection isn't perfect, or perfection isn't what makes
Yeah.
things interesting.
Yeah.
That it's the flaws. It's the so. Anyways, once I know, like, that, you have to see this video. It's so well done.
Okay.
Really, really cool. Really
Okay.
cool.
All
So link
right.
that for sure in the show notes.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, life would be pretty boring if it was perfect all the time. I mean, the
Yeah.
concept is wonderful, isn't it? The
Yeah.
concept of everything being perfect is fantastic. But then you're like, but actually, like, I wouldn't want to watch a movie where everything was happening perfectly. It would be boring as fuck. Nobody would want to watch that. So awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've
So
already knocked
yeah.
it out of the park, and we've only talked about
Okay.
one band and three songs, and I'm like
Yeah. So
all in.
yeah, definitely. Hey Rosetta, great band. I wish they were still around. Tim Baker is the singer. He still does play, so he does solo work, and I don't know what the other musicians are doing, but they were all wonderful. And but again, I'm not sure why they broke up, but it's not easy to make a living as a musician in Canada, and
Well, especially if
um,
you said they have what, seven
I think
like, and
seven.
a larger band is, there's more people to pay. So
Yeah, so I imagine that was maybe part of it. I have
yeah.
no idea how much money they made, but
Yeah,
um,
it's hard when there's, the more members that you're adding in, it's just gonna
yeah,
make it more difficult in all the ways.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. My second artist is a solo artist who is. Let's actually tie this to the hip really quickly. So, Hey Rosetta did a really beautiful version of Ahead by a Century, um, right around the time of the final show, I think it takes place. So there's a professionally shot like CBC video of them playing the song. They do a great version. So that might be another thing I can send you.
Totally. Yeah,
And to also, and I'm going to tie this next group to the hip as well. And this is not intentional, but it's just
it's gonna
how
happen.
things happen. The next person is Buck 65,
Okay.
and I've got a couple of discs here. Um, this is a super interesting character. So his real name is Rich Turfry, and he's been around for a long, long time, putting out music, and his music is just really interesting because it's so it takes inspiration from so many styles, very heavily influenced by hip hop. His style is sort of like a rapping style, but he's more kind of speaking, and he's got almost a bit of a country twang to his voice. So he
Okay.
really mixes styles of like country, hip hop, but also like alternative. He's got guitar, he's got different sound effects, and if you listen to his whole catalog, you'll hear like just everything. You'll hear a bit of everything, and this actually kind of makes sense. He's a so Rich Turfry is the drive home DJ now for CBC Radio, so a national radio station you can hear all across the country. And so kind of the 3 to 6 slot I think he does, and he has a show called Drive, and he is known for he's kind of like the Questlove of Canada. Like he's known for having this massive record collection, like I don't know 12,000, whatever it is, like massive amounts of records, and he's so knowledgeable about music, about every style of music. And what he'll do is he'll play on his radio show. You will hear everything, like every style you could possibly imagine. And what makes him fascinating is that he's got these stories. Like he'll tell you a story about a song you've heard 1,000 times in your life, and he'll tell you something you didn't know about that song or about that artist, the recording something. He'll have an interesting story about so many songs, and that's what he is. He's a storyteller, and so his lyrics are really interesting, quirky, fun, bizarre, but a lot of the times there's like a story underneath that. And so the songs I chose to kind of introduce him. The first one is called Wicked and Weird, and I think this is maybe his kind of most well-known song. I should give credit to my wife really quickly. She's the one who actually introduced me to Buck 65. He opened for Moby at the Commodore Ballroom in Vancouver a number of
Okay.
years ago, and she went to that concert and came home raving about the guy who opened. It was just him and a, you know, record player or something, and he just really impressed her. And at first I kind of like, okay, whatever, like this is weird kind of country rap. And but you know, the more I listened to it, the more I started to appreciate it. And um anyway, so he I'll let you just kind of listen to that song because it's just it gives you a really good idea of kind of what his style is. But he's just got a great natural voice, and like I said, like his wordplay is really cool. Like um I don't have too much to say about that song other than it's pretty representative of his style,
Okay.
which again is very all over the place. The second song I will talk about a little bit more is craftsmanship, and this is actually another song as a teacher I would use often at the start of the year. And the way I would do this is I would show a video of um, I'd actually show a picture of a person getting their shoes shined in like not the 20s or something in New
Mm.
York, and kind of start talking about some things like what do you notice about the person who's doing the shining, the person getting and talking about status and all these. It went into so many different places depending on what the students picked up. And then I would play this video about there's a shoe shine guy in Montreal. I found this news sort of clip, and there's this guy in Montreal who was actually, I believe he was homeless, and he ended up you know shining people's shoes, and he turned it into this business that he's now like he does it as a living, and he's kind of trying to bring back that whole idea of you know business
Yeah.
people getting their shoes shined. So he sets up in a whatever a hotel or something, and it's all about, and that again is also about storytelling. Like he has conversations with his clients, and anyway, this song is about shoe shining. Like it's so cool.
That is
It's
very cool.
and again the title's craftsmanship, and he just basically he's giving this message of if you're gonna do things, do them properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of gets into a little bit about how one of one of the lines is casual clothes in the office are killing my business or something. So it's at once it's kind of talking about the decline of this
Yeah.
industry or profession that isn't really around much anymore. But it's just so the lyrics are just so perfect, and really it just comes across as a story. It's got this really cool beat to it, and yeah, definitely take a listen. It's so great. And again, I love the message of just do things, no matter what you do, you know take take pride in your work.
Take pride in your work. Yeah, that's the underlying theme of it.
Yeah.
Love that.
And the third song from Buck 65 I picked is 463, and I chose it mostly because of it actually talks a little bit about him. um he was actually apparently a really good baseball player, and was maybe even, I think I read he was scouted by some major league teams, and then he had a shoulder injury, and so I'm not sure if that's what led him into music or if he was kind of doing both already. But so Buck 65 was yeah, he was apparently a really great baseball player, and so 463 is a term for a double play. So second, I think it's second base to throws to the shortstop who you know touches second base, throw it to first base, and you get the double play. And he's got other songs that mention baseball. He's got one called like I think uh, Blue Jays and Roses or something, where he talks about his relationship with his dad, which um, is a pretty common theme in his music, and watching baseball. And so, anyways, 463, just a great. This was when you hear these songs, they very much have a style. Like the ones I chose are all along, they're all from the same era, I guess. But if you listen to other songs from his catalog, if you're interested, you'll hear some really bizarre stuff. So yeah, so Buck
Nice.
65, artist number 2.
Awesome. Awesome.
And I believe he still actually does his drive home show. I don't listen to CBC that often, but I know whenever I do, if I'm in the car and it's on, it's really entertaining. You never know what you're going to hear. Oh, and that's the one thing I wanted to say really quickly, the tie into to Gord Downie. My one regret on all of discovering Downie, of all the research I did and all the things that I wanted to say, I, I I think I said most of the things that I wanted to say, except for I missed one when we did the grand bounce episode, which is the one I was the most prepared for. I just had time to really research and dig into that one leading up to it, and I forgot the song the drowning machine
Mhm.
on the grand bounce has lyrics that are used in a Buck 65 song. So there's actually a Buck 65 song where he collaborates with Gord Downie. So Gord Downie sings the chorus on the song. I think it's called Whispering Waves.
Okay.
And when you listen to it, you'll notice, oh, hey, those are the lyrics from, or some of them, the lyrics from Drowning Machine. And and this is one of those things I didn't research. I just knew, like, when I started listening to this song, I'm like, hey, I know these, I've heard these lyrics before. And had always planned on bringing it up on the podcast, and I never did. So that was my kind of feel like there's probably listeners thinking, oh, you've missed that info. So, so check out Buck 65
Well, you got to say
collaborating
it
with Gord
now,
Downie.
so, and that's great because you know I'm going to go and get into it.
Yeah.
I love
Okay.
all the homework that you're giving me right now. This is going to be
Yeah.
so great. There are no notes coming into this, but the notes that will be happening as I listen back and edit will make up for it.
Okay. Group number 3 that you need to listen to, Canadian band number 3 is Half Moon Run. I mentioned them a little bit off the top. So Half Moon Run is a band. They're based out of Montreal, and but a couple of their members are from out this way, out in Victoria, I think, and I think Coquitlam even, which is just across the bridge from me. And I first came across this band. I was just talking about CBC radio. I was driving home from a Windows 78 jam late at night, and the late night show was on CBC, and there was at the time, I don't think it's on anymore, but there was a really great DJ, and I'm blanking on her name, but she would play just really cool Canadian music, again, of any genre. And she played a song by Half Moon Run called Full Circle. And I think it was like their first single. So they just kind of put out their album. And I immediately went home, and this is midnight, and I get on my computer and I order the CD online from their website. And immediately, well, I noticed they were actually coming to town. They were opening for Of Monsters and Men, so I got a ticket to that, and they were just so amazing. You have to check out some live videos. This is the kind of band you need to experience live to really appreciate. And I could go on all day about this band. I've now seen them probably, I think, like 14 times.
Damn.
And partly it is just where I live. They a couple of shows I've seen were like warm up shows. Like they'd be going on tour and they'll do a warm up show at a small club, and I was lucky enough to get in. And I've seen the Commodore a couple of times. I've seen them, I don't know, a bunch of places. And they are such high caliber musicians that, again, they just sound so natural on their instruments. They're so effortless. Everything just seems effortless. One interesting thing about them is they don't have a bass player. And so and this is one of the things the DJ had said that night. She's like, you got to see these guys. The drummer plays the bass on a keyboard, while he's playing drums. And so, sure enough, I go to the concert, and the drummer is playing drums with one hand, playing a keyboard that's set up where the toms would be with his left hand, and singing backups, like 3-part harmonies, beautiful, like amazing singers. And but it's not like a gimmick. Like I remember I saw the guy, I forget his name now, but there's a guy who opened for I forget what concert it was. He opened for a big concert I saw, and he was like doing everything himself. He played guitar, and he played the drums, and he sang, and it was just a one-man group, and it was very, very impressive. Don't get me wrong, very impressive.
Right.
But I don't know, the songs were okay. It didn't, it didn't make me want to run out and buy that CD or go see them again.
For sure.
Makes a great Instagram reel, but and I'm sorry, I forget the name, but like seriously impressive. He's pretty awesome. But this is not a gimmick. Like this is it's so impressive how well he does it. Like and the whole band, they do a little bit of instrument changing. At one time they were a 4-piece for quite a long time. They brought in a 4th member, and they're back now to being a 3-piece, the original 3 guys, and they've put out about 4 or 5 albums, and they're still going. I highly recommend you go see them while they're still around. Yeah, so the first song I chose was Full Circle, and this is the song I first heard on CBC. And what drew me in were the harmonies right away. Just some really not traditional choices for the harmonies. They're not just singing in thirds or whatever fourths. They're kind of like doing some more interesting things, and just a really nice acoustic guitar, kind of finger picking thing going on, and just a well put together song. And this is still a song they play, usually at the end of the night. It's just amazing to see live. Off the same album, there's the second single I think was called "Call Me in the Afternoon," and again, seeing this song live is so amazing. The singer takes off the guitar, and he has just like a floor tom and some drumsticks, and it's kind of like clicking rim shots, and rhythmically it's really interesting. And this was quite a while ago. This is their first album, and so a lot of bands in the meantime have done kind of similar things. I'm sure it's been done before, but it just really like having this extra percussion really like energized the song. And just listen to it. It's a fabulous song, but again, Half Moon Run needs to be seen live to really be appreciated.
Nice.
And I know you said they're one of the bands that you right away picked up on.
Yeah, they were
playlist, right?
definitely one that I picked up on too, and I think there was maybe 2 songs that I put on my, like, moved them over onto my regular rotation list of theirs too. They were another band that I definitely, sought out on social media too, was like, put them in my feed, because if for some way I can catch them live, like, they were definitely on my radar for sure.
Yeah, and they do tour the U.S. and they tour around the world fairly regularly. There's been hints in their emails. I'm on the email list, and at one time it almost sounded like they were maybe wrapping up, but it seems like maybe they're pushing through. So I really hope they keep going. They're just so good.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I
that was
would
one.
love to check them out at least
Yeah,
once.
yeah. And
Especially
that was
after
one.
this too. Like, I was already
Yeah,
feeling that way and had watched some of their stuff that they had posted and everything. And then now after everything you said, I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to make sure I check them out live.
yeah. And that was a cool thing at the bathhouse. On the wall, one of the first things I noticed was this album here. I picked up the
Yes.
box set
I
when
love
it
it.
came out. It was a little too expensive, but I like to support bands like that.
Absolutely.
But it was, yeah, that album was done at the bathhouse, and I think Niles Spencer was involved, the house engineer there. I think I'm not sure if I think he engineered the whole album. Actually, he may have produced it even. I'm sorry, I didn't look at my notes.
No, very cool. I love it. And it's still there's a little nice little another connection for sure. Do you have
Yeah.
it? Did we go through all three songs, or you have one more song?
No, one more.
That's
The
what I thought.
last one is called 21 Gun Salute, and this is the final track on their first album. Um, and I just love it so much. It's got a little bit of a different vibe to it. It's got some kind of like synths and some really great kind of drum grooves. And I guess the one thing I want to say about this band is the vocalist Devin. He has the most sort of effortlessly soulful voice I've ever heard live, possibly. Like he has this, I don't know, it seems like he's barely trying, and there's just so much emotion in his voice, and he has such control over his pitches, over his, just the the timbre of his voice, that it's really impressive to see live. And again, the other guys all sing harmonies, and they do such a good job, not just hitting the harmonies, but choosing harmonies that are interesting, that aren't just overdone by
Hmm.
every other band.
Yeah.
So highly recommend checking them out. Yeah, they're one of my very favorite bands that I've seen live, like ever. I've seen thousands of bands, and they're right up there.
That says a lot. That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
So, and you're very confident in that. So, I like that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, actually, one really quick story. I was over in I mentioned on the last show. I was playing in a wind ensemble that we did a little mini tour of southern France, I think in 2013. And it I what I did is I ended up booking just a couple days, I think 3 days in Paris after the trip was over, just on my own. Like while I was over there, I figured, I'm not sure I'll get over here again.
Yeah,
Who knows?
absolutely.
Never
Absolutely.
know. So, and I think part of the reasons I did that was I noticed that Half Moon Run was playing a show in a place called or Orleans. I'm not sure if I said that right, but like Orleans, um, uh, which was about a hour and a half train ride from Paris. So I booked this trip up to Paris and then over to Orleans and stayed there a night and went to this festival that took place. It was a free concert in the downtown area outside this massive brick church, like the nicest concert setting I've ever been to in my life. It was absolutely amazing.
I bet. I bet.
Like even the food was super cheap. Like, get these massive like hot dog things that were like for like $3 or something. A beer was $2. It was just this community event, and anyways, I saw them there, and they were actually, I think, the second band on that day. So they actually didn't have a very good crowd. There was only a few hundred people there at the time. So you could tell they were maybe a little disappointed, but they still put on just such a good show. And I think that was the second time I'd seen them. And so I was right up front. I've got some great video from that show. And yeah, it was just such a fun concert. I was just like on my own in the middle of France, and
Hell yeah.
yeah, it was just really cool.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Wonderful landscape, like
yeah, just
all of the senses were just, yeah,
yeah,
amazing. I
yeah.
love that.
Okay, let's get back into it. So, uh, artist number 4, Canadian artist you should know. This is one that I will admit I don't know super well, and I don't know how well known he is outside of Canada. I know in Canada he's done very well, and I imagine that um, he's done okay outside as well. But I'm not sure if it's like a household name. So, do you know Bruce Cockburn?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he is. as far as I know, he might still even be gigging. He's been playing since like the late 60s. So he's, I think, 80
Okay.
years old. And I know fairly recently I've seen, that he's been playing. I've never had, the privilege of seeing him live, but I've definitely, looked up videos, and he's just a really great guitar player, a really kind of unique style. And the three songs I chose are all, huge hits in Canada anyways. Um, First one is Lovers in a Dangerous Time. And if I know Bare Naked Ladies are, Canadian band that are known around the world, they did a
Is
early on
that
they did a
that?
cover.
Yeah, there was, you put that on the other playlist.
Yeah, I don't remember which version I put on.
I
I
did
think it
listen.
was Bruce. I think I put on the original, so that was Bruce Cockburn. I think.
No, it was the Bare Naked
No, it
Ladies
was Baron.
version.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I listen because you're like saying this, and I'm like, wait a minute, why does this sound familiar? So yeah, that definitely rolled through the Bare Naked Ladies version, like rolled through on there. So, and I liked that. I mean, and I don't
It's great.
particularly love the Bare Naked Ladies, anyways. So,
Yeah, I'm the
but
same way. Like I enjoy a lot of their stuff too. They're actually a band I've never seen either. I know Kirk is such a huge fan, but
I don't think
um,
I've seen them either, and they play a lot, here
yeah,
too. It's like it's the same kind of thing, being, geographically close.
yeah,
But that song, it was intriguing to me because I was like, oh, like I thought it was a Bare Naked Lady song, and I was kind of like, oh, well, this is actually like, so that explains that now. It's like, no, that's not their song.
yeah. Um,
But
th-
even their
th-
version's really good, so it
it
makes me
is.
excited to hear the original now.
Yeah,
So
and that was early on. Like that Bare Naked Ladies version was before they were, really big. They were popular here at the time, I think. But
yeah. Maybe that's why I liked it too, because maybe it was such early on, like they hadn't gotten super commercialized, and what happened here is it almost felt like, not to go off on a side tangent, but it really kind of felt like, at least for me, like it felt like the media was almost like trying to shove them down our throats. Like, no, you
okay,
should listen to them. They're really great. And you're like, yeah,
yeah,
this is like too much. It kind of
yeah,
felt like. So for me, that I think was part of what kind of turned me off of them. So when I listened to that song, it was like kind of gave them a little bit of redeeming value in my personal opinion. So
yeah. The early Bare Naked Ladies stuff that I used to hear on the radio around that time was really good. Like Brian
yeah.
Wilson is another song I think I put on my other playlist.
Yeah, that's a great
Great,
tune. I
great
love that
song.
tune. Yeah, that is a great tune.
But I agree. Like once they became a little more, you know, successful down south, they lost something in my view. I find them very entertaining. I wouldn't say I'm like a big huge fan, but I appreciate them. But
For
anyways,
sure.
back to Bruce Cockburn. So Lovers in a Dangerous Time. It's just a great. I mean, I don't know specifically what it's about, but it really could be taken in any way, right? Like it just like I think even now, like with things going on politically and especially down south, I think this is just such a powerful song, and that's what he was kind of known for. Like Bruce Cockburn was very could be very like political in his music, or very you know uh he always had a message. um so and I'll go through these ones fairly quickly here. The second one is If a Tree Falls, which again is from around the same era, kind of. This is like mid 80s, these songs that I've chosen, which is when I would have heard them on the radio when I was young. And this is a song just with a great chorus. If a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear? And then in the verse, he's just speaking. He's almost like just like stating facts about the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. And it's so powerful when you can hear like the anger,
Mm-hmm.
but in a measured tone,
Mm-hmm.
which I really find powerful. The
Which is
next
much
song
more
also,
powerful than just standing there aggressively yelling your point.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, like this is not Rage Against the Machine, which I appreciate as well, but
There's a
this
time and a
is,
place.
it almost feels more like more meaningful when it's just like someone a little bit older who's just saying things as they are.
For
The
sure.
next one, If I Had a Rocket Launcher, was always my favorite as a kid, and I always found, I always thought it was kind of funny that um, there's a little swear in the final chorus, and they'd play it on the radio. If it, it kind of builds up like, what do if I had a rocket launcher, I'd make somebody pay, and then the very last chorus, if I had a rocket launcher, some son of a bitch would die, which sounds really silly just saying it, but
Hmm.
listen to this song. It is so powerful. It's and I don't know the exact it's about a conflict in, I can't remember now, like Central America or something, like back in the in the 80s, I guess. So it actually was based, as far as I know, around an actual event at the time. But again, the song, it holds up today because it's so, it's like one of those things where you hear these things happening and you it makes you so angry,
Hmm.
and it's almost like that fantasy of what, if I could do something about it, I'd make them pay, kind of thing. But it's done in a way that it's not a song about violence at all. Like it's really the opposite. It's just yeah, it's, you have to listen to the song. It's so good. It's definitely on my original playlist too. It's
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't even really know what to say. And again, I'm not a Bruce Cockburn expert, but I just thought it's a name you should know. And like I said, he's getting up there in age, and give him a listen.
That's incredible that he is still touring in his age, that he's
Yeah.
still out there gigging and playing
Hmm.
music.
Yeah. Yeah. And look him up too. He's got this great like finger style way of playing, and he's really solid musician too. I think I read he went to Berkeley for a little. I think he dropped out pretty quickly, but he's a great musician.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Please be sure to leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me, and it helps get this podcast into the ears of even more fellow music fans. If you're not already following the show on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dropped Among This Crowd Podcast, or check out datcmediacompany.com for more. Thank you again. I'll see you around these parts real soon. Mad love.